We're live. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever the hell, and welcome to Sidetrack. Everybody, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you? Hope you're well.
Very well, thank you. Welcome to Matty. Welcome to Stormy, and welcome to. Oh, I'm so close. No, damn it,
He's over here. He's over here.
Our resident American, our young, too much hair American, and just Matty. How are we, everybody?
We're well.
Good. That is excellent. So we've had a slightly big week. If you're Star Trek fans, no, screw Star Trek. If you're Stargate fans, not screw Star Trek, but no, screw Star Trek. So we're going to have a chat about it. Let's get into it. It's also our Christmas party, so I do have a beverage. So we will not be live next week. We'll not be live the week after because that's Christmas Day. We probably won't be live the week after that either because that's New Year's Day. But I'm sure we'll try and get on at some point over the Christmas period. But if not, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry.
So, before we get into it, we obviously have the slightly exciting news that I was speaking to one of the people that I do speak to, and that actually works in a legal capacity. I can't say much more than that. I can't say, Bob shouldn't even say that, but he works in a legal capacity.
He's parole officer. Go ahead.
He's my parole officer because I like to murder Americans. It's only Americans. I'm just lulling you into a false sense of security.
You know, someone's going to send an email, right? I love to murder these Americans. He said it on the intertube.
Only at weekends. So it's a hobby.
You're framing us because that means we're the people that like lure them for you. Are we your scapegoats?
Oh my God, we're groomers.
Half of our viewers are Americans, so I can't afford to murder any of you. So, but just for legal purposes, I'm joking.
Us Americans love our murder mysteries, though.
You do, don't you? So anyway, I was talking to my colleague, and he has been able to let me know that actually very early contractual negotiations have started with Mark Fergus. Well, actually started with Penguin and Parker, because obviously that's the company, for them to produce Stargate. I can also add a little caveat to that it is to produce a movie and a TV series. I can also add, dun, 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 they are negotiating 2 TV series, not just one. So whether that's 2 seasons or 2 different series, I'm not 100% certain. But currently what they're negotiating is 1 movie, 2 series. In which order they will then get released, I cannot be 100% certain, but that's the full disclosure. Thoughts?
Wow. That was my thought.
Finally.
Yes.
It's fun. It can all go horribly freaking wrong yet. Let's not kid ourselves. All right.
Yeah, that's
these are the early negotiations. There's a lot of contract stuff to go on. They need to start talking about budgets and things yet, which is where I'm told things tend to, if they are going to fall down, that's where they fall down.
Yeah.
So as soon as they start talking about money, but this is the closest we've got. You know, the closest we got before was Brad Wright wrote a script. I can remind me to tell you about scripts in a second as well. Brad Wright wrote a script. He had that, and that's pretty much as far as we got. MGM did loads of work while they were stalling, basically, for waiting for Amazon. They did quite a lot of work developing, but they never got as far as anything legal, contractual. So this is the furthest we've ever got towards getting Stargate back on screens.
Right.
So other than WoW, double WoW.
Wow.
Any thoughts?
Wow, man. Well, I'd be interested to, I guess, in terms of the 2 series. My experience is whenever they say there's 2 series, it's not 2 it's two separate storylines. It's like Lower Decks, and then it's Brave New Worlds. It's two series. It's not one series for 2 seasons.
Well, I asked seasons or series, and so it's come back series, because I know in America they're different. In the UK, it's a fuzziness. America,
we use them interchangeably.
British legal area parole officer guy you were talking to, or was he an American?
He's an American.
Oh, so it's probably 2 different series altogether, not 2 seasons.
We might get a conclusion to Stargate Universe. That might be where they're going.
Oh my God! Will you stop teasing with that, Matt? I want to see
go over half the Stargate population.
I would.
I hope so.
If they're going to do 2 series and they've done all this research, they know what we want, and that is one thing Stargate fans want.
Yeah,
but Jay, you mentioned it was they might do a little Star Wars-y kind of thing with their shows too, so it could kind of be like a Mandalorian Boba Fett in a way, maybe, possibly.
That's what I'm assuming at the moment, but when that's conjecture, we're assuming that. But yeah, I think what they've always said over the last 12 months when I spoke to him is that's what they were looking at, like an intertwined franchise where the series will not be standalone. They will really intertwine with each other. But yeah, I think the Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and all the other series we're about to get from Star Wars is the best way of looking at it. I think that's where they're going. But you got to remember, these things haven't decided. And the thing is, Mark Fergus has only just come into this as well. So Amazon might go, we're thinking this. And Mark Fergus might go, well, I'm thinking this. And they might go, ooh, that's a good thing. Let's do that. So, I mean, until really they get into the next bit and Mark Fergus starts to make decisions now, we don't know 100% what we're going to get. But
hopefully we get a series called Maldoran, Ian.
Okay.
Right. Well, here, if they're going the Star Wars model, are we ever going to see a baby Daniel?
Well, we had a baby Yoda.
Glasses.
I want to see a baby ancient, like Logan, as well.
Like a firebug, it's a firefly.
Well, I mean, you did just bring up a good point. A lot of shows right now, particularly after like Grogu and Star Wars and all that, they want that big merchandise kind of grab and that big odd. Because people that don't know and love Star Wars watch Mando just to watch Grogu. So what will Stargate
Asgard?
Baby Asgard? It's not very cute though, is it? Let's be honest. The thing is with it.
I don't know. A fully grown Asgard isn't very cute, but a baby one could be really cute. Like, it doesn't have to look like a fully grown Asgard.
Yeah, baby evil Ewoks. Sorry,
but they don't need. They just clone themselves, huh?
The furlings. That's what we got. Baby evil furlings. By the way, guys, if you want to manipulate the conversation, please use the super chats. I can't read all the comments that are coming through. But anyway, if you have something you want us to read out, use the super chat thing, because also I like when it's money, it's Christmas. So
baby replicators, they're just like one block, aren't they? Baby replicators.
Yeah. Well, no, they're the nanites. You can't even see them; they're just falling you everything. But right, so first of all, I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week, but what do you guys think about there being like a straight to cinema movie, and particularly as it's getting to the point of contractually talking about it? That means we're going to be waiting probably at least another 18 months.
Mm-hmm. I think what I said last week about them doing a movie is probably the best thing to do, because they can get excitement from us, but they can also get excitement from the other demographics. People who just like sci-fi, people who just like going to the cinema, like Harris, for example. He just watches everything. They just get all these like Venn diagrams of people interested, and then when they move on to this show, there's more of an audience. So it's not just going into, oh, there's a reboot of Stargate, oh, I can't watch it because I've not seen the other 10 seasons. They've got a jumping off point.
Yeah.
Well, I think Christian in chat was talking about, do we think this is going to be a monster of the week kind of show, more red line story through the series? It's in terms of historically, all the Stargate shows have been like a kind of a monster of the series. There's been, the the replicators, for one instance, that goes through a whole lot of series. They just don't do pop up and, oh, here's the critter. Let's go to this planet, wipe it out, come back, pop a beer, have a hot dog. That's not typically how we've seen Stargate series in the past. It's been very long arc stuff, very long arc stuff, and early on in the habit of being a long arc story.
The last 2 seasons are basically one long storyline.
Yeah.
But I mean, it started off with major overarching storylines because obviously the gold. I mean, that lasted about 5 seasons. So yeah, the problem is, this is almost certainly going to be, unless Mark Fergus is a freaking genius and pulls something out of his ass, this is going to be what we're used to now, and it's going to be a streaming series, 10, maybe 12 episodes. We still get network series of, like 20 episode series, but they're becoming rarer and rarer. It's not the way they go
anymore. Quality over time. It's hard fought to find a good 22 episode series nowadays, which is kind of odd, but it just is. It tends to go CW route now.
Yeah. I mean, sci-fi series, can you think of any that run like that now?
Not even on the Sci-Fi Channel or anything. I can't think of anything.
No. The Expanse is like 10 episodes or 12, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something like
that. Resident Alien? I think that's probably the only one I can think of. They split that series, season 2, into 2. I've just started to watch the second half. I think that's...
Isn't that more of a comedy, though?
It's still sci-fi. It's still aliens and stuff. And there is limited special effects need, but there are special effects.
I find with like situation comedies like Resident Alien, Big Bang Theory, stuff like that, they do longer seasons, but actual like proper television doesn't, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not saying it's not proper television, but there's stuff that takes more money.
A lot of those have dwindled down to like 16 or 18 episodes too, though.
And even the some of the more romantic shows. Virgin River, I think, is an example. I mean, it doesn't run 20 episodes. It runs, short 10, 12, and that's that. I think we're seeing that is a trend and it's here to stay. I think from a writer's point of view, they kind of like it because they don't have to fill in a lot of stuff. I remember the last season of Battlestar Galactica, the Moore version. He said Sci-Fi Channel truncated down the last season a bit, and he says, well, it gives us the opportunity to take a lot of the fluff that we usually have to do for a 25, 24 episode season, because you have your main story arc, but you really can't fill it up all the way because of budget constraints. So you come up with these, small little stories that have nothing to do with the overarching thing. You forget it the next week. So I guess, from a writer's point of view, you get more concentrated story in the 10 story arcs than you do, over double that.
Just to read out, Judah Khan, thank you, regular Sidetracker. All hail the Psycho Tree. Great report in recent days. Great report for the last year, actually. I just want to correct you on that one. We were first on literally everything, but not the best news. I've seen these because he wants Brad right. We're still going to talk about it in a minute. Not the worst either. Keep up hard work. Hail to all.
That's because they have me on.
Going back to the episode, how many we're going to get. We could potentially longer episodes than we used to. We might only get 10 or 12, but we'll get longer episodes. So the standard episode would have been 40 minutes?
40 minutes,
yeah.
40 minutes, so you might get an hour, but you might even get more than that. Like, there are certain shows that are doing way more than an hour, like Stranger Things. Like, that entire season, I think the longest episode was 2 hours long. Just one episode. It was like a movie. So the proof is there that it works, because people will sit down to watch it, even if it's in a condensed episode. Like, how many you've got, I can't explain that bit, but we could have longer episodes, is what I'm saying, and that's interesting, because you could have more happen.
Yeah, the two big points about streaming series now is what they're horribly expensive. If we look at even 10 episodes, if they're serious about this, and they would have to try to roughly match Star Trek spending, if they're even remotely serious about this, and that is averaging $10 million an episode. So a 10 episode season is still $100 million.
Still much.
Still a hell of an investment, you know. The other thing, though, about streaming services is you can drop it any way you like. So exactly with Strange New Worlds, they wanted to, with Stranger Things, they wanted that double episode because it fit the story. You can do that with a streaming service. You can't do that on network. You know, it's like, so there are advantages to the streaming model that we don't get. And there's a big thing with Battlestar Galactica TV series, if ever it gets made. The one guy is the guy wants to he wants to drop 3 of the episodes halfway through the season at the same time because it's a battle scene, but it's going to be from 3 different perspectives. So it works for the story to drop those at the same time, and everyone would just go crazy. I couldn't hear the smoke alarm, Harris, but well done, sir.
Did you put out your meth lab fire? We were really concerned.
Yes.
Just,
Oh, good.
feel the floor until it gets hot. You're good. Right? As soon as it
I
gets
thought
hot,
it might be me because my smoke alarm went off literally 10 minutes before we jumped on here. So I'm there like just listening to make sure it's not mine going off because I can't hear anything with these on.
I hadn't heard it once, and then I read that, and I heard it every time after. I was like,
Mike has got very good ears. But what do you guys think about that? Are you concerned about it being streaming, or would you actually prefer it to be network?
Streaming.
Everything is streaming now, so I don't watch anything on TV.
Yeah. I even watch, if I watch like the NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, I'll watch it on YouTube. I just,
See, I wouldn't mind a combined version of that. I don't know if they could pull something out like House of the Dragon does for HBO, how it airs at 6 p.m. on a Sunday or whatever retrospect it is for y'all, because they make more money like doing it originally, like naturally, not doing a streaming service. Because at that point,
do it in the UK already. The BBC will air something at say 6 o'clock. It will finish at 6:30, and then it will be available when after that. So,
like you can stream House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones the second it airs, kind of stuff. I think that would be a good business model because they can make more money than just relying on subscribers and new subscribers coming in. Because Stargate will bring a bunch of the old guard in, like all of us that are enjoying it, but it's still TBD if it's going to bring a bunch of new people in. Hopefully that movie does the job and is good enough to bring all the new people in, because the new Stargate show it has all of us baked into the audience already. So hopefully with all that, they can get a good business plan out of it. I don't know.
And Amazon have loads of options because they've got loads of platform options.
Mm-hmm.
They've got MGM Plus, they've got Freevee, they've got Amazon Prime, they've got something else in America as well that's MGM owned. They've got loads of different options. So
I wouldn't be surprised if they put like the first episode onto that Freevee thing. So you can watch it for free. And then if you like it, you can then subscribe to whichever platform, if it's MGM Plus or if it's Amazon Prime, whatever it is.
Tease you.
Then they get
you
the
audience. Freebie, get you hooked.
Yeah. Little teaser, wet your whistle a little bit.
Yeah. Wet your whistle. Shall we discuss the Brad Wright thing? So when I dropped this news, obviously I got loads of comments. I got loads of comments saying "woo," and I got a few comments saying it won't be Stargate. I've got a few videos coming on with my opinions of those, and I think, Shelley, you do too much for us already. That's
Shelley,
woman, $2. I'm going to send you another cup with rude things written on it. But thank you very much. And holiday wine, holiday beer. Merry Christmas, Shelley. I lost my train of thought there. So
Brad Wright.
Yeah. So a lot of the comments was, it's not going to be Stargate because it's not Brad Wright. Done. Opinions?
Well, if anyone has been paying attention to the internet recently, Brad Wright did an AMA on Reddit, and he even pointed out the fact to someone who commented this very thing that he handed the reins over to someone else towards the end of SG-1 and Atlantis. So it wasn't even him in charge, but you still like Stargate. You were still invested and you still liked it. So it can work, because he's already done it. It's happened before. You just didn't realize.
Yeah. My thought with that is bring it back to Star Wars, of course. But when Disney bought Star Wars, it wasn't George Lucas anymore. And, of course, the quality definitely went down. But we had Dave Filoni for all the TV shows and stuff like that. And I think Stargate needs its Dave Filoni now. It needs... Did Brad Wright have like a second-hand guy, second command kind of guy that might be able to come in or anything like that, or somebody that could act?
Rob Cooper and everyone else, co-producer. Just to explain, Shelley, I sent Shelley a mug with shall we spend one step through the old orifice? And when I sent that to somebody that has no interest in Stargate, doesn't have no idea what that means, but I did it because it amused me. So, yeah. I would agree with it. And at the end of the day, we know what Mark Fergus can do. I honestly think if you're not going to go Brad Wright, they weren't the right people. Brad Wright tweeted not long ago, though, that he feels there's ageism in his industry. And that, people wondered, did he mean Stargate? Now that we know this is the direction it's going in, was he having a little dig? Stormy, what do you think?
Maybe. I mean, why do you come to the old guy with the gray beard for the ageism question? I think it's very ageist of you.
I can't speak to Harris. He doesn't know what it means.
Yeah, I've heard other writers, especially in the print industry, kind of say the same. And then other writers in the same industry say, no, I just got more readers now. But movies and TV is a whole different shebang than actual the novel, the printed novel industry. I don't know. I do know everybody wants the hot new thing. That's very much a Hollywood thing, Harris. And but does it actually seep over to the writer's room, the producer's room? Maybe. You see that a lot with. I just don't know. I mean, Ronald Moore. He's an older guy and he's still cranking out really creative series. He started with Star Trek: Next Generation and worked his way through. And I just don't know if in the writers' world now, actors, yeah, but writers, I just don't know.
I think Stormy raises an interesting point about it. Everyone wanted the hot new thing, so it might not necessarily be ageism, but it might just be that these particular writers that are feeling as though it's ageism just aren't capable of delivering what new audiences want. They're just stuck in their ways a little bit. Maybe it's an element of maybe it's that, but maybe it could be ageism as well. That could also play a part, but I think that probably plays a larger part.
Yeah, could be.
I was just asking, how many musicians do you know that do their best stuff in their 60s? How many comedians do you know that get funnier as they get older? Or
I know one.
Genres.
Saying that, Ozzy Osbourne's just released a new album and it's actually really good.
There are always going to be exceptions.
He's like 80 or something.
Yeah, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, they seem to do. I mean, comedians for me is one of the keys. I don't know any comedians that get better. Billy Connolly is one of my favorite comedians on the planet. He got into his 50s though. He's good. He's not dead. George Carlin is dead.
Louis Black.
George Carlin though did always stay funny because he just got angrier. He got old.
He had more material. We elected more presidents, and he got more material. That's just it.
Yeah, exactly. So there are always exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, I mean, do you think that could be where Amazon's coming from, or do you just think they just thought, like they did with Star Trek, we just need somebody new because we need something that's a bit different? What do you think, Harris?
I think they just need somebody new because prime example of all that, not even I guess making sense in a film way is just James Cameron right now. Anybody betting against him, he's in his late 60s, maybe early 70s. I'm not positive, but all the reactions as of now is Way of Water is 10 times better, not 10 times better, but the story is a lot better and everything's much better. And if you can improve with age, it's like a glass of fine wine,
Oh, and if I could chime in just one moment, we were about concerning Avatar and its budget that we spoke about a few weeks ago. A lot of the budget for the next Avatar movie was also split with some of the Avatar 3 and Avatar 4.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So we really, I was reading up on that. Oh, well, can we? It's almost like he got a coupon to make the other two. So maybe his box office needs to be a lot less to be successful because a lot of that production value was.
On that point, I just don't know why he said it the way he did. I don't know why he did that, because it's just going to make it look like the first Avatar bombs. If it only takes $1.5 billion, if it matches Maverick, it looks like it's lost 500 million. But you're right, it hasn't. So I'm just banging my head against the wall going, why did you say that?
Because he gets guys like us to talk about it for 3 straight weeks.
Yeah. I just
he
don't
just
know
wants people to see it over and over, I think, honestly. Especially with his comments about, hey, go pee if you need to. You're going to watch it again.
Yeah.
Which I just love the confidence in that already. But think about how many times people are going to get up to pee in a 3-hour movie about water.
It's 3 times. I will be up 3 times to pee.
On the hour, set your clock.
I'm thinking I need to go now. But we all know as soon as I get to the 60-minute mark, I start getting a bit nancy. Stormy, stop talking. I need to pee.
You should just make watery sounds down Jay's ears. Just pss, 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 pss.
Oh, guys, how many videos do we end with me hitting the end broadcast button and then me going, "Go back to the-"
Like every single one.
Every week. But you do it at the beginning as well, literally 2 seconds before we start.
Okay, I'm back. We're on broadcast. Live.
You have the bladder of an old lady.
I didn't say it.
No, it's fair.
And going back to the ageism thing, it's I think there's a little bit of that for Lord of the Rings. The Power of the Rings, or the Rings of Power. Excuse me. Because they had Peter Jackson, the dominating force in the Lord of the Rings production. And they said, well, yeah, we're going to have, we're definitely going to consult with Peter, and all of a sudden they didn't. And I don't know if it's a schism between Prime, their production house, and well, no, we don't want him, or we want to do something new, and or it was just he was the old guy, and we wanted new, fresh ideas on a novel that's been coming up on 100 years old. It's having, at least in terms of the Rings of Power, is having new bright ideas behind a book that was printed, before most of us were alive. Is that a good idea? I mean, did Jackson actually nail it concerning bringing it to a visual medium? And they poo-pooed that because we want fresh new ideas. But
with Rings of Power, though, they weren't legally allowed to talk to Peter Jackson after a bit. They weren't allowed to. I don't believe the legality is why they stopped talking to him, which sucks because I would have preferred him to have a little say. And I don't like the way they approached it because they just ghosted the guy.
I know there's an issue with New Line, but not Peter Jackson.
You're talking about ghosting him, though. At the moment, that's what Amazon's done to Brad Wright.
Yeah. No denying that shit.
That's not the way.
I wonder if it's because they know he is very open. He's more than happy to talk to fans. And actually, if something was going on, maybe they think he let the cat out of the bag. But actually, honestly,
I think that's definitely there's an element of that for sure. Because he's very vocal on Twitter. But could it also be that he's pulling? He knows something's happening. He's just not allowed to tell us, so he's not. And he's kind of saying certain things to throw us off. That's like the
hopeful. Old man needs a wee. I was actually told that that's probably why he made his little comment a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know if it's true or not. This is just this guy's opinion. But he made a little comment a couple of weeks ago about that he doesn't know what's going on with Amazon and anything, but he was trying to maybe separate himself. He does actually know something's coming, but he wants to get away from it because when it's announced, he's just going to be bombarded with is it you? What you're doing? Why aren't you doing it? And he doesn't want that. So he's sort of like getting everybody primed now. I'm not involved in this, so don't explode.
He's preparing everyone just by telling them now, and he's going to keep saying it on Reddit AMAs and on Twitter and things until it's announced. There's obviously still going to be people that message him, but if he hadn't have done all of that, he would have been bombarded.
And also, I mean, he might be thinking, because he's not stupid, that he wants Stargate to succeed, so he's priming us for it. He's getting us ready. Yeah. Like, I'm not involved in this, but whoever is will do a great job, and I'm behind them 100%. But it might, or it's just that he actually, honestly, has no clue because Amazon have completely ghosted him.
Well, here's another play on that. Remember when the new Battlestar Galactica was coming out, and everyone, the fans were just off the wall, insane about no. And so Moore went out and cast Richard Hatch. That was in the original series. Yeah. And Hatch came on and said, no, this is actually a good thing. This is, the young upstart brought out the old man to quail the mad fans. And, it's maybe that's Wright's, position is to manage expectations or just, to provide to be a foil for the whole thing, to attract attention while they actually get to work and do their job of making a new Stargate. I don't know, but it's happened before in terms of the old man syndrome.
Is the perfect option? Penguin and Parker do this, who are a production company that have made movies, have made TV shows, have experience in this area. They're going to have another partner, because they don't actually own studios and things. So there will be at least one other production company involved in this, probably two, because they'll probably bring on a CGI company to do that. So, which is still being negotiated, as we say. But is the perfect solution that Penguin and the Parker make this with all of their experience, and they bring Brad Wright on as a consultant?
I think so. That's what he's trying to do. If he has an agenda per se, maybe Amazon is kind of holding back on him. Obviously, it doesn't seem like they want to use what he has or anything like that. And I think he is trying to stay active, not just to prime us for a new Stargate, but to prime himself for a new job. Because if he doesn't end up as the showrunner or anything like that, which it's not looking like, all of us that have watched Stargate at any point are saying, well, bring him on as a consultant. And it doesn't seem like Amazon's done that yet, but it seems like he's priming himself to be brought in as a consultant.
Because that won't be Amazon's decision. That would be Mark Fergus's decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If they've done all this research, they've made a show like a content Bible, and they've done all this research to get canon completely right and all this stuff. They've obviously done research online. They'll know what we want. Like I said before, so they know we want a conclusion to SGU, but they also know we want Brad Wright in some capacity. And it's not their decision whether he showruns or not, because obviously if they're going to get the job, they've got the job. But they can then go, well, we can bring him in, and he can consult on a little bit of canon here and there. He can maybe write a few episodes here and there and put his name on there in big flashing lights, just to appease all of us.
Yeah.
Feedback on scripts, and that was the one more little bit of information I wanted to give out, that apparently there is a script for at least one pilot episode, and there is a outline script for a movie that Mark Ferguson and his team have started to put together. Apparently it's not quite complete, but the first drafts of a few things have started to be done. So they are, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's not pre-production, it's pre-production, but those apparently are done. So
at the minute, what they're essentially doing is applying for a job. And the same with Brad, he was applying for a job. Yeah. Going back to what you mentioned about him feeling like he's been ghosted by Amazon, is it really ghosting when they've said, we don't want to go ahead with your thing, and now they're interviewing other people? It's not really ghosting, because when you go for a job interview, if you don't get the job, you don't hear from that employer again.
No, not always.
That's just business. That's just how it goes.
They have never told either way. They've not spoken to him. I actually believe him when he says that. He says it repeatedly, and I believe him. I don't think they've ever spoken to him. They had meetings. I hear they had the last time that Brad Wright had meetings. It was with MGM, and the series hadn't been finalized, and that was the last time since the sale has been finalized. There's been no conversation.
That'd be a ghost.
That'd be a ghost.
Pretty shitty. Yeah. But the fact that they've got as far as starting to develop scripts and starting to do that as well, I think is, I mean, the thing I like is Penguin and Parker haven't actually signed on the dotted line yet, but they seem to be doing a lot of work. And it's not just Mark Fergus, it's Hawk Ostby, it's a team. There's quite a big team there. They're investing a lot of time in this if it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think we can be reasonably confident. But I mean, so no Brad is the one thing I get. We'll talk about the dreaded woke just very briefly. So another comment I get quite a lot since on that video is that it's going to be woke garbage. So what is the effing point? Everything's woke garbage, and Stargate will be exactly the same. They're just going to kill the franchise. Now we know that it's Mark Fergus. Or at least, 80% certain or whatever, it's Mark Fergus. Is there any reason to assume that it'll be woke garbage?
None at all.
Well, really? Go ahead.
Shut up, Matt. No. Stormy. Shut up, Matt.
Let Matt go. He's on a roll.
I hate when people go on about they haven't seen something and they think it's going to be woke, and if it's going to be all this crap. I hate the word woke in the modern sense, because that's not what it originally means. Whatever, that's besides the point. If you haven't seen something, you can't say it's going to be this, it's going to be that. Especially if you look at what they've done before. Iron Man wasn't woke in what they deemed to be woke. The Expanse definitely isn't woke. I can't remember what the Children of Men I've not seen, but I don't think it was woke from what I've seen
Cowboys
online.
And Aliens too. He wrote Cowboys and Aliens. All those
Aliens.
movies and shows have woke isms, but none of it feels woke. He literally just writes it as a good story, and it tells it as a good story. Typically,
I think a lot of people use the word woke because they don't want something to be pushed in their face. They don't want it to take over the story. Signal virtue. They don't want it to be the main thing. But I think a lot of people who use it are looking for those things. If you go into something looking for those things, you're gonna find it.
Yeah.
Troll got a troll.
Bigot shout woke. Bigot shout woke.
Yeah.
Go on, Stormy. What were you going to say before?
I was just going to say, I'm wondering if they're going to keep the Stargate round because it's entirely misogynistic.
Because it's a hole and they walk through it. One more go through the old orifice.
Yes. You all right? Oh my God, Matt's completely left.
Took him out.
There's the hole.
There's the hole, yeah.
So,
I was having my heater off. I'm getting a bit sweaty.
Whoa.
Okay. Saucy.
I'm just. I don't know why you have me on here. I really don't.
Because we love you.
Okay, fine.
What were you saying? Sorry.
No, that was the only stupid thing I could come up with when somebody said woke. It was like, oh well, the gate's round, so therefore it's misogyny.
I just can't understand why people would yell, "This is going to be crap." It's not even been officially announced yet. I mean, let's at least get it officially announced and then say it's crap.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No,
let me just blur it out real quick. And the other reason why it's misogynistic is, we call them chevrons, but we all know that there's multiple clitorises on that ring. And we really need to rethink the architectural structure of the gate. Don't you think so? Because it's just way too much woke shit.
but it's like a lady's part, so surely that's no, because it's not asexual. No,
See, we're all
we'll call it that. Well, they'll have to change all the things. I think Stargate was just like, best start,
clitoris locked.
Stop saying things that are going to anger people.
Gamer Beans in the comments has a really good point. Stargate has a mixed cast and they called it woke.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But if it had come out now, people would be jumping on it saying that's woke because
the
Chip's a black guy.
episode early on where there was it Tibetan culture?
The all-female Jafar.
No. Very early on in season 1, and it was like the Mongol thing. And
episode,
they basically they got angry at Sam, didn't they? And Sam ended up beating the crap out of him. People would scream woke at that.
She had to wear that stupid dress. They all laughed at her.
Yeah, but that was a woke. But I always say, like, I don't like the term woke. I'm with you on that one, Matt. I've argued this loads of times. I think there is genuinely an issue with some TV series, but I think there always has been. It's just that the bad stuff, the stuff that that is like this and is virtue signaling and is trying to being preachy. People don't like it and they don't watch it, and we forget about it. I watched a Whoopi Goldberg movie not long ago, and it was like she was a lawyer or something, or a marketing person, and it was actually about female that nobody would hire her because she was a woman. So she ended up dressing up as a white guy at the end. I don't know what it's called, but I'm just like, this is fucking woke as shit. But it was like the late 80s, early 90s, and I'm like, it wasn't even really about her race. It was about, but the metaphor was across genres, but it was really about her being a woman. And I'm like, those sort of projects, but it's not one of the Whoopi Goldbergs you could name. I can't name it. It's not. What was it? What was the one? Jumping Jack Flash is my favorite, but
Rat Race.
Rat Race. There you go. So people have forgotten about it though, because it's not a very good film and it does preach a bit. So people forget about it. Propaganda has always been around, but I think we forget about it a bit. We've now got a new word for it, and people think on that. There
was loads of propaganda in Stargate because it's just on the back of the Cold War.
Yeah,
they're like the whole Russian thing, everything to do with the Russians, and Jack basically not liking Russians because of the Cold War. It was full of propaganda.
Well, initially Jack didn't exactly like Carter on his team. Well, he didn't like Daniel either, but I don't know if that's just him wanting only military people. Well, no, Sam was definitely military. I don't know.
Well,
Jack had some issues in the first season. He had personal issues.
As he says, he didn't have an issue with her being a woman. He just doesn't like scientists.
Yeah. Which, again, that whole opening sequence where Sam has that argument with him and has a go at him.
Just because my reproductive organs are on the inside rather than the outside.
Exactly. He didn't like scientists.
He changed it quick.
See, we need a baby Daniel.
But I say that we're going to have to put up with that. We're going to have to put up with people are going to jump down through us. But the thing that really disappoints me is that gators are jumping down it, and I honestly think it's now really is the time, because we're so damn close to getting Stargate back. There is a lot of cynicism in the fan base of Stargate that we've been here before. It's not going to happen, and it will happen because Amazon can make money on it, so it will happen. And it's going to be rubbish. It's not Stargate. It's not my Stargate because it's not Brad Wright. And I just think now's the time, really, guys. We've got to start coming together.
We know that's never going to happen. Well, here's the thing that it's my continuing complaint about TrollTube. The sector of YouTube that just is in it for the clicks. They really don't care about the franchise. They will get on and they will produce, one video after another bitching about, in this case, Stargate, or it was Battlestar Galactica in the past, or it was Rings of Power, or hell, it was Lord of the Rings. Bitching creates clicks, and the more dissent you have, the more clicks you get. And to be honest, Jay, this is one of the more. This channel is one of the more reasonable ones. We actually look at the art that is created or could be created, and we don't postulate about, well, this is going to be crap because they hired some writer from, I don't know, France. And
whoa, no, wait. If they hired somebody from France, I'm not watching it.
See?
The French beat us in the World Cup.
That is so woke of you. That's just so woke. Oh my God!
You can't diss the French. There's a whole Stargate FR community. We need them on board.
No.
Give me some Cajun stuff. The Cajun stuff expands. It's great.
We had 100 years war against the French at a time when people only lived to 30 years old. Do you know how
They
much
helped us out against you guys. What do we have against France? Just saying.
the French?
France helped us out.
They stink of garlic. Now, no, hey, look, I can't say it. Le Mediavre or whatever. It's actually probably Europe's biggest Stargate channel. He's been on this evening. He's say hi, everybody. And he's fantastic. He's one of Stargate's biggest proponents. He was really behind the "We Want Stargate" and "Bring Back Stargate" big thing a couple of months ago.
He's the reason for the hashtag.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the people that live in France that's the problem. That's all it is. So other than that, and actually, the only place in France I've ever been to is Paris, and I think even most of French hate the Parisians. so it's a bit. But anyway, I'm only joking for legal purposes. I'm joking.
They're like New Yorkers for y'all.
Which I'll be there in 3 days. So
Okay, so
I think they're going to continue the whole hatred against Russia thing in the new Stargate, seeing as Russia is still up to the noughties.
Yep.
Well, God help them if they put the damn gate in Kyiv,
That'd be such an interesting story. Putin's currently waging war against Ukraine, but he also has a Stargate. What's going to happen?
I think they'll just ignore it. Honestly, mate, they'll ignore it. It's
what if
too hot a
Putin
topic.
put the gate in the Ukraine, and that's what he's after? New series.
Maybe they'll do something about the pandemic. That'd be interesting.
They'll mention it. They will.
The pandemic is a great time for disclosure. So what are they going to do? Riot in the streets? They're not allowed out the house.
Ooh, what if COVID came through the gate? It was on some other world we visited where it had really jumped species, came through the gate, and
it's the prior plague from season 10. That is literally what COVID was.
So I tell you what, we're writing the script for them. This is so easy. I mean, it's like I'm taking notes. Stormy, I got to remind you though, don't say the C word. That gets us in trouble.
Oh, right. Let me write that down.
You say pandemic. No, don't say the C word.
Say the wrong.
I put together a video.
Oh, hang on a second. You're talking about the 5-letter C word, not the 4-letter C word.
Don't say either. Honestly,
I'm
12 months ago, saying
stop
COVID's
that.
got you banned on YouTube. So
Truncate everything that's got a letter C in it, including truncate.
Avoid the C word. You said clitoris earlier as well. I wasn't happy about that. It is C words I've got a problem with.
Well, I mean, at least it was, anatomically correct word.
How do you feel about Christmas?
They're not happy about that either, because it's Christian, isn't it? So it's like we're supposed to say happy holidays.
Or happy Yule.
I say Merry Christmas because I live in England and that's what we say.
Winter solstice, maybe.
Hey, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and I don't really care.
Yes.
So because
Happy holidays.
one thing we have to remember: these things are words, and words only have as much power as you give them. So calm down.
Tell that to Shakespeare.
Exactly. But anyway, so before we move on to talk about something else,
It totally ruined the show.
to go back to Stargate, is there anything that goes? I mean, obviously, because this is, like I said, we're the closest we've ever got. We've got a showrunner that I think we agree we all trust in this one. What are your real hopes for this? Again, I'll just say this now as well. We were supposed to hear about this in January, was the rumor I've been hearing for the last 3 or 4 months. Do you guys think that's even remotely feasible, considering they've only just started contract negotiations and they still don't have a chief executive of movies? So,
as long as they've got to the point where I think it's feasible for them to announce something. Not necessarily say something's coming on X date, but hey, we're working on Stargate. That's entirely possible.
That'd be cause for celebration, yeah.
Well,
the closest thing we got to an official thing over the last 10 years was when Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich were going to do the trilogy reboot.
For a week.
That was actually green lit, and that was announced, and it still got cancelled. So this could still not happen because it's happened before, but I am hopeful and very excited about it.
Amazon don't have a history of announcing stuff and then it going backwards. So
I think there's too much money on the line for them to go back on it if they did. But yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Storm? Do you think it's...
Well, I agree with Matt. Amazon's got way too much money invested in positive PR. And let's just say they've got financial problems. They don't need extra headaches because they shot themselves in the foot. They get, a fan base all jazzed up about something that's, one of their biggest properties. And they get their fan base all jazzed up about it. And then they pull the rug out from under them. Well, they've lost $1 trillion in valuation. Amazon has, and they really can't afford it. So I think they are very, very, I think Amazon is very plotting and strategic of their announcement and what they release and what they say corporately. Everybody has all these old back channels. Everybody has all these leaks. But in terms of, yes, we say this is going to happen. I think if some leak, if some news ever popped up in the Hollywood Reporter that Amazon didn't have anything to say about it, wasn't a press release, I think that Amazon would panic. Because now, it's just, now our reputation's on the line and we're skating on thin ice. Amazon has a lot of financial difficulties right now.
It's not even just the financial difficulties. They've got a bad reputation. They're not a popular company. They're a bit like, they're almost considered like the big evil conglomerate because of their business practices, and they're not popular. I was told 6 months ago or in a year ago that one of the things they wanted to do is announce these things really quickly to get a bit of positive news. And it didn't happen because of the state of MGM. And then obviously the pandemic and the economic slowdown they didn't expect, even though they're idiots. If after the pandemic they didn't expect some of their value to be wiped out and a cost of living crisis, I just think, yeah. But obviously we weren't expecting Russia to invade the Ukraine. That's really can fuck things up. But there's Amazon really needed a good news story, and they haven't had one.
I think it's going to play out much like it did with The Expanse. Obviously, that was cancelled in season 3, 2018, something like that. They came along and they saved it, and it was big news for sci-fi fans. Mm-hmm. They are the heroes that saved The Expanse. If they do the same for Stargate, it's going to be as big, if not bigger, because Stargate was a way bigger show than what The Expanse was.
Mm-hmm. Well, Amazon, the company overall, has a lot of internal problems. So just for transparency, I have a cousin that worked in HR for Amazon, recently laid off. But the things I hear that was going on in Amazon before this rocket job I was considered for Amazon to help run their drone delivery program. Almost had the job, but then they quickly canceled it. And there's a lot of things that they've thrown a lot of cash at that they've canceled. And a lot. Drone program just the drone program, the money they wasted on coffee in the drone program would have funded 5 years worth of Rings of Power. It is the experiments that they're running at Amazon are insanely costly. Now, the problem is also, if you go to Amazon, you look up stuff, brands are fleeing Amazon. This is the first year I didn't order anything from Amazon for Christmas. Because you look up, I need a wrench. Well, you get 100, different types of wrenches, and they've all got some strange, word in it, like DWRQA. That's the brand name. And it's all these Chinese knockoffs that's invading Amazon as sellers. You can't find the real products.
Because Amazon FBA becomes such a massive thing.
Right. It was almost become like Alibaba for Americans.
Yeah.
And
people selling courses and then everyone's like, I'll jump on that. I'll just get some cheapy whatever from China and sell it as a legit.
Yeah. And there's as I understand it from my inside source that's got laid off, it is becoming a problem. Americans are fed on the idea of brand. You want to buy their brand. And here you have 1,000 knockoffs that, half the reviews are obviously written by a bot with bad punctuation rule sets. And so I don't think it's outside of the wheelhouse that Amazon Prime, the studios, and the whole streaming business gets spun off in its own thing, because just to protect the intellectual property, because Amazon has problems, deep-seated financial problems.
If they seem to have deep-seated financial problems. Disney does. Disney's one of the biggest, wealthiest countries, and they have deep-seated economic problems. There are some major problems worldwide. Go on, Harry.
With Amazon, though, their deep-seated problems, if they decide to separate the store with the streaming service, is that in their best interest, though? Because I feel like a lot of their numbers are definitely boosted up by people that are just members of Amazon Prime in general that may not even realize they have the streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
They would probably move some of their other businesses that are profitable, like AWS, which is probably the most profitable.
Really, it needs to be
everything is run on AWS, even Netflix and Disney Plus. Like, they'd probably move that away from the Amazon brand or something.
Yeah, that gives Amazon an insight into demographics and things, even though I know they're not legally allowed to use it, but hello.
They're supposed to be.
Things that's just
Jenny Simon mentioned it. There's supposed to be like some FCC check, FC, whatever the acronym is. But due to how costly it is, does it actually get done? Maybe not. No one actually knows.
Prime Flicks.
Yeah.
Ian McAvoy, he has a future in advertising.
Prime Flicks Plus?
Netflix, brought to you by Prime.
They would have to be Prime Flicks Plus, because they always put a plus. It's Prime Flicks with a plus.
Did you guys hear the news about Disney Plus's new ad offering and how much money it could make them a year? Just by offering a free service with ads.
I know it was with a B.
$3+ billion a year. Just
in ad revenue.
Netflix are about to do the same. Netflix are about to have an option for cheaper, so it'll be like $5 rather than 10. But you have to have adverts, and
their lowest paid plan, is ad supported. I think I'm on that one at the moment, and I don't really want to spend the extra £10, but I don't want adverts, so I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Not extra £10, extra £4 to make it £10.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's see. One thing is right. So easy ways to make the fans happy when Stargate does return. Bring in a star from the original series is the easiest thing for them to do. I just would love to know your interest in who you would like them to bring in, because we're sluts for that sort of thing. They will bring in somebody. And then I'll tell you who they've actually spoken to.
It has to be Michael Shanks. He is Stargate.
He is Stargate.
Yeah. He kept leaving. He's a Judas. What are you on about?
He didn't leave. He ended.
He left once. How about you guys? What do you think? If you had to pick one.
Well, it either I'm kind of torn. I'd like to see well, we already kind of know Teal'c's origin story, but I'd really like to see what he's been up to in the last decade or so. Teal'c's story would be cool. But yeah, you gotta have Dr. Daniel Jackson. I will say there was I think they really, I can't remember which episode this was. It was where Jackson was what was it? He was on a roof and he was like spotting for snipers or something. And does that
he was looking. It was an episode of Stargate Universe.
That was and they were trying to track the Aleutian
Something of the Aleutian Alliance, I think.
Yeah. And Jackson, I mean, that was just so out of character for him to have the spotting scope on the roof and calling in. It's just that really it stuck in my mind, and it's like, that's not Dr. Jackson.
I think that was the natural evolution of Daniel, to be honest, because he was
You
a
think so?
nerdy guy who ended up being given a gun. He went through all this pain. He become like an Indiana Jones archaeologist. Now he's like Secret Service kind of thing because he's like not going through the gate as much. I think that's a natural evolution.
Okay, I can see that.
David, sir.
Him being Space Indiana Jones would be fantastic in my book. But I don't necessarily love the hyper militaristic Daniel Jackson. I don't know if I've even made it there yet, but I can see how it would start.
I don't think he'd ever be militaristic. He's always going to be that that civilian who looks at the military fondly, but he doesn't think how they think.
Okay, good. That'd be great.
Yeah. I can't believe nobody's mentioned Richard Dean Anderson though. We don't want to see Richard Dean Anderson come back in any, even for a little bit.
I'd love to, but that guy has to do a half a year. I mean, just he needs to get back in shape. Is just a plain way to put it. And I don't know if he could take the stress of the show. Oh, that's right. He did.
Yeah, he's lost a load of weight. That was the rumor actually that he was losing weight because back before the sale was finalized, MGM, like we've said, MGM thought they were going to be allowed to just crack on with Stargate, and Brad Wright was talking to Amanda Tappin, Daniel Shanks, and RDA. We know from that meeting the other day that at least one of Brad Wright's, we know that Richard Dean Anderson and Amanda Tappin were going to be in the pilot script because at one point O'Neill says to Carter that I've still got your toothbrush, and that was the line that Brad Wright said said that was in the script. So we look at that was the rumor that he was losing weight because he was going to be on, and they were expecting to have been filmed by now. They were expecting to, it'd be on our screens in spring. Until Amazon went, no, not happening. But yeah, I think I'd love to see Amanda Tappin come back, but I'd love to see it like as a small part where she directs and stuff as well. And I think that would be really great. But you'd say the characters that I can see coming back, definitely Daniel Jackson, because it makes sense. I'd love to see him as sort of like a civilian leader of the Stargate Command now, which is cool.
That Homeworld Command or something.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Sam Carter's an easy one to come back, but I actually agree with you guys. Teal'c is the easiest because we desperately want to see, because the Jaffa, if Mark Ferguson, anyone else has got any sort of sense, the Jaffa's a big part of this, and where the Jaffa are now is a big part of it. But again, if he was the leader of the new Jaffa, the free Jaffa, he would be again a part that could come in and out really, really easily.
Yeah.
And he can bring in a whole new audience as well, because he's been playing God of War since 2018, and he's just won an award for it. And he's like well in the news and everything right now. He's in the limelight. If they announced something and he was involved, that audience would want to see.
He's kind of been campaigning to play live action Kratos as well, so he's got like a social media presence and everything right now. He would be kind of that perfect guy to just shoehorn back into a new series, some way.
He went from killing gods on Stargate to killing gods in God of War.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question for all of you guys. And will the new series be in a pre-Stargate disclosure world or post-disclosure? Will at some point will the event of exposing the Stargate program to all of humanity here on Earth, will that be a thing that's happened in the past, or will that be something to work up to, or is it just going to be a business as usual? Keep everybody in the dark.
I feel like that'd be an awesome season 1 plot device, and have that unfold in season 1, and
something will have to happen.
Yeah.
There'll be an enemy or something, and we'll have to disclose it for whatever reason, and that is season 1, or maybe the first half of season 1.
I think it's too complicated to not do it that way. I think if it's already been disclosed, you've got so much that you've got to explain.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is in our little Stargate SGC series we basically said the first series was about catching us up. And that's what there's 15 years of stuff that's happened. We need to catch up, and that's what the first season would be about. And then we said that, but another way of doing it is with flashbacks.
Yeah.
So you have to build something to the story. So you start off where we are, and there's been disclosure, but you've got to go back and explain it at some point. The easier and less messy way of doing it is, like you said, Stormy, that things are business as usual, and something happens. The Furlings attack. There we go. Done.
He's never going to let this one go, is he?
I think it's a good idea.
Chris got a good take. The documentary in SG1, I forget which is one of the later seasons where they filmed the documentary about
Heroes.
One of the Terry Rothwell's character got killed, and I'm just God, that would be that gets leaked or something, and by the New York Times or something, and going back to, I don't want to see a wimpy Stargate. And Jason,
there's been quite a few instances of the Stargate bases being filmed, isn't there? You got the episode of Heroes, like you've just mentioned, and then there was the Prometheus project.
Yeah.
They literally had a film crew on, but then they got kidnapped. So I don't know what happened to the tapes there. Maybe they got flushed out, but there was quite a lot of opportunities, as you say, for things to get leaked, especially in today's age with the internet, because that wasn't really a thing back then.
And they could just show one of the video. At that point, they have videos to show the public, so they could explain it away like that. But
it's CGI. It's faked. That's the easy way of doing it.
I'll just explain it away. Oh yeah, it got leaked on Twitter in 2011. It's just what happened.
It's part of the Twitter files.
Fund another series of Wormhole Extreme just to distract people. But yeah, that's I mean, I like the New York Times idea because obviously they're the ones that leaked or put out the story initially about the all those UFOs and the the speedster and all that sort of thing. So it would sort of mirror what actually happened during COVID, but then that would have to be flashback. So I mean, one way of doing it is that, like you said, it was released and became public knowledge during lockdown, and no one really noticed. Is one way of doing it. They announced.
I'm still waiting for the New York Times to do a follow-up story. Well, these ships that they come from, not of this world, what kind of ships are they? And what's the biological presence on such world? Where do we theorize that this world is at? I mean, there is you and I've met discussing, on YouTube, kind of discussing the things that the New York Times just failed to follow up on.
Yeah.
I mean, how many thousands of views did we get off our disclosure videos just based on, oh shit,
They've admitted it and nobody cares.
TikTok.
Yeah.
What's my favorite thing?
Maybe the way they do it. Maybe it's been semi-exposed. They were. They've just put the flies down, sort of thing. But maybe it's been people kind of know about the Stargate, but they don't really know what it is, and they obviously don't know all the other stuff about the Jaffa.
So it's kind of like MK Ultra. We know it happened. We just don't. Most people don't really know what it's about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's like people like us who would look at that stuff. We know about it, but my mum, for example, she got no idea what that is.
Well, I'm kind of shocked how many people don't know how many rocket companies there are. I mean, they don't know what SpaceX is. They don't know what Virgin Galactic is. They don't know what Blue Origin is. So, somebody went to space. We went to the moon.
There's a lot more than that too.
It's just a want to choke people. Yeah.
Blue Origin's the one with the penis-shaped rocket, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the vibrator with fins.
Massive engine on the bottom.
Imagine
Bezos rocket.
Yeah, that's the Bezos rocket. That's correct.
Yeah.
But Jamie, you mentioned flashbacks a minute ago, and that made me think: could they set themselves up by doing something similar to House of the Dragon in season 1 with all the time jumps and do a couple time jump episodes, but have different aged cast and have, at that point, you could fill in a series, between those time jumps. And those could be spin-off series that they're setting themselves up for in the future.
I hope they don't do that in a way, because Stargate was always done like it could be happening now.
Yeah.
And I kind of hope they continue along that thinking. But really, like we said earlier, we have no idea what they're going to do. They could really do anything, because we don't know. And one thing I got to say, I've noticed a couple of comments about Mark Fergus in the comments about that we have some concerns about working Mark Fergus. I personally don't, but if there are concerns, one of the concerns is the main thing I know about Mark Fergus and his writing in particular is based on The Expanse. The Expanse was based on a series of novels. So he took those novels and turned them into a TV series. He didn't actually, like with Hawk Oaksby as well, but he didn't actually have to create anything new. Stargate, he's having to create something new. Iron Man, based on a novel. Well, based on comics, obviously. Children of Men was based on a novel. It goes on. So has he actually got a history of creating anything new? And in that case, should we be a bit concerned?
Is
You
Cowboys and
could
Aliens novel?
You could argue that Stargate's exactly the same because he's got 17 seasons to draw inspiration from.
What did you say, sorry, Harris?
Is Cowboys and Aliens a novel?
It was a comic book, wasn't it?
Comic book.
Okay. Well, then, yeah. We same question.
But
Most of sci-fi stuff these days comes from comic books.
Yeah.
And Matt made a good point. Matt made a good point that saying he has got 17 years of canon to base on, as long as he sticks to canon. But again, he's got free reign. Now, my understanding is he's been told when he was doing this content Bible, he was told very clearly what he was allowed and what he wasn't allowed to mess with, and that was a two-way negotiation. Though there was a negotiation that went on. Amazon were like, we don't really want you to do that. We want you to focus on this. And Mark was like, I think from a story point of view, we need, there was a two-way conversation. But I'm not really worried about that because I think Mark Fergus is definitely one of those people that would stick to canon. He really stuck to the novels of The Expanse, and I know he was only very heavily involved in the first 4 seasons, but they stuck to the novel. They adapted it really quite faithfully, but made it into a TV series.
That's excellent.
But he hasn't maybe done anything that's completely free reign before. Should we be a bit worried about that?
Nah.
I think it's like excitement and terrified all at once, but you got to just hope for the best at that point.
Yeah, I agree. Right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to have to call it a day because I promised my wife.
We have to pee.
Sorry? No, I don't need to pee.
You have to pee. That's
I did promise I'd be off by about 6:10. Got to go cook dinner. But so because we're going on holiday tomorrow, it's our last evening with the kids, so we probably should have another. Guys, thank you so much again. And I just want to just very quickly while you guys are here, I've just done a video thanking the 3 of you for everything you've done for Stargate in the last 12 months. I mean, Matt, 12 months ago, I didn't even know who the hell you were. I was going through videos today, and you kept popping up in the comments. And I was like, I didn't know who he was then. Look at his fucking comments up. And Stormy, all year, man, you've been in, even when you are knackered, even when you've been working hard, you still drag your Danny DeVito ass on the screen, which is just thingy. And Harris, stupid hair with a pretty beard.
Didn't know who Harris was even like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I still don't know who the hell Harris is. Jeez.
Harris's trousers are on fire. By the way. But guys,
I think your blunt's on fire.
Yeah. But it's guys, it's been an amazing 2022. Thank you so much. And
thanks, Jack, guys. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you everybody in there. And just guys, keep on going and let's look forward to 2023 when we're actually going to have Amazon stories to talk about. Hey guys, when we come back in the new year, we might have something official to talk about. So
that'd be great.
If something official comes up in between now and New Year, we have to go live. We have to.
Avatar 2, Way the Water releases in very short period of time.
We will talk about it next time. But guys, thank you so much. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. If we don't see
Merry Christmas, everybody, too.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Say bye-bye now.
Toodles.
Bye.
I've got to do the normal thing. I've got to try and find the outro.
Do the normal thing. For God's sake.
Marie.
Never find the outro. Found it.